Hey, so this is just something very quickly I've whipped up. So the default layout is just a simple portfolio grid, and then I'll run you through what I've done in the code. Now, this is really janky, like I've rushed this, it's a total mess. So just targeted the section, set the grid wrapper to flex, gave it a min and a max height, and in this case, the max height is, let's just make it 80 VH for the sake of it. Gives it a set size. Now, this is because I didn't want to write any JavaScript. I've just done this using hover states. Obviously, if you were to use JavaScript to toggle a class, that would make things a lot a lot more powerful. Anyway, set the position relative. I'm using a max width of 900 just for the mobile queries, which you'll see here, just to make things a little bit nicer. So where were we? Okay, so actually, 1 auto. That would probably be nicer. So on mobile, I've just set it to column, and again, I gave it a max height just so that we don't find the entire container jumping around in size. Obviously, if we're factoring in, different numbers of items, there'll be more to faff with. But as I said, this is just a prototype. Grid items gave them flex of 1 so they can grow and shrink. Height of 100% gave them a min and a max height just so that they would fill the container. Let's grow them a little. In fact, no, what did I say? I said 70, didn't I, for the container? To be honest, probably don't need this, but there you go. Set them to position relative because that's important for the background images, or it was. Might not be anymore, so that's useful to know. And then just gave it all transitions. And then on mobile, what I did is I gave them a maximum height of, what was it? 5%. I think I might actually be able to get rid of that. Let's check. Oh, I lie. Actually, sorry, that was because I need to override this. I could have done my media queries differently and just done a separate desktop one, but again, lazy coding. So yeah, to overrule that, I just gave them essentially a default height of 5% and then let them automatically calculate the height, so it'll animate. Then on hover on desktop, I just said, whatever the hovered item, if you're using JavaScript, obviously the active item width of 40% or whatever. I think there's a nicer way of doing this with CSS grid, but I can never remember it off the top of my head. But yeah, there you go. To be honest, I can probably get rid of this now actually for mobile because I've put it on the desktop as well. Let me check. Might not work actually because, yeah, they need that no shrink property for the hover one. But yeah, so on mobile, it just sets the height to this arbitrary 40% I've used. And then this stuff for the image, let's just show you that really quickly. So essentially, to get them to stretch, I've just set each one as a grid, basically, and then stretch the content, which is the inner wrapper, etc. Might be able to get rid of this position relative stuff. Yep. And I can probably get rid of this as well. Let's just check it on mobile. That was why I kept it in. For whatever reason, the images were collapsing on mobile. I think it's because they're set to position absolute, so their parent needs to be relative. But yeah. And then the text, I just absolutely positioned it. I probably could have used a hover grid instead and just made it appear on hover. Yeah, this was kind of my idea of having a simple little accordion. I'm using way too many like absolute values, so it's not super responsive, but you kind of have a responsive enough accordion. Obviously, setting this breakpoint to 900 or whatever I set it to isn't ideal. Ooh, there's a little break there. That's interesting. So some fun troubleshooting for you to do. But there you go. I feel like you could do some pretty fun stuff with this just on a basic level. Uh, I mean, I don't think the excerpt data is stored anywhere. No, it's a portfolio, so there isn't any excerpt. But yeah, that was kind of the direction I would take it. Obviously, with JavaScript, you could find a way of better constraining things, but I hope this is helpful.